All right, I am going to start recording and we may have some people pop on here. I know I had a couple that are going to watch the recording. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. And if people want to pop on, go for it. But I'm in my comfy clothes. It's a Sunday and I'm just ready to prep and chill for the rest of the day. And I'm sure most of you guys are as well. So I'm going to go over the meal plan that we have and talk about the game plan of what we're going to do. So I am going to tackle the sheet pan pancakes and the oven bacon first because they require the same temperature of 425 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven for that for 425. Okay, so while that's prepping, I want to talk about the rest of the things. So we're going to get started on that one, but then after we're going to do the barbecue chicken bowls with sweet potatoes, coleslaw, and pickles because that is the same temperature, 425. And then we're going to drop it down to 400 to do the skillet lemon butter Dijon chicken and orzo with feta sauce. And at the very end, we're going to do these coconut lemon balls. Okay. All right. So let me get you positioned. And let's get started. Okay. Oh, hey, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. This is my daughter.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I have this recording right now, and we're just going to get started.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with a sheet pan pancakes in the oven bacon because they require the same temperature of 425.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Perfect. And if you have any questions, because there may be people that will be popping on and then some that will be for a short time and then come off or just watching the recording. If you just put the raise your hand thing, if you have a question, feel free to ask me. Okay.
Okay, great. And the one thing before we get started, I have a slow cooker instead of the Instant Pot. So I'm assuming the instructions are a little different.
Yeah, that's totally fine. If you're doing the slow cooker, then you can do that low and slow for 4 to 6 hours, however you want to do it.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna get started.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring all my materials here. Okay. So we're gonna start off with so I already preheated my oven to 425, and I'm gonna get some things ready. So I'll go ahead and put my bacon strips on my sheet pan, and I went ahead and already aluminum foiled it so that it's easy cleanup and you don't have to worry about all that grease getting stuck in the pan. It can just be thrown out or, taken out an easier way. So I've just got uncured bacon that's no sugar. Applegate is a really good brand for this, but I was in Aldi. And luckily, Aldi has a really good clean brand that's very equivalent to Applegate. So I'm just going ahead and put the strips on my baking sheet.
There's a baking sheet on the dining table.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. That way, I can just put this to the side, and then I'll get started on making the pancake recipe. Okay. And Karen, where are you from?
New Jersey.
Oh, that's awesome.
Where are you located?
I'm in Georgia, Hartwell.
Oh, okay. What's your weather like today?
Huh?
What's the weather like today?
Oh, hot and humid.
Yeah, here too, but then it started raining.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's been hot and humid all week, it feels like. Well, because it rained all week. And so this is like the first 2 days where we have sunshine. So it's just so humid.
Yeah, so it's like you finally have sun, but it's not exactly pleasant.
Exactly. All right. So now that I got my baking stuff already lined out. I'm just going to wait until that's finished preheating because I want to put the pancake sheet pan and this in the oven together so that they can cook. I'm going to go ahead and get started on making the batter for the pancakes.
Want to do that?
So I just got all of the stuff right here. So we're doing 1.5 cups of superfine flour. Now, I don't know if I have the exact amount of 1.5 cups, but I'm just going to show ways of improvising when you're in a situation like that. So I've got my measuring cups. Okay, so that's 1/2. And I'm just roughly scaling this. Okay, so this made just about like a full cup. Now, what I do in situations like this, if this ever happened to anybody in the group, I've got coconut flour that I'm going to add to it, but I also have gluten-free flour because coconut flour, when you add things to it, it's very dry flour, so it absorbs things really fast. So I'm just going to supplement the other 1/2 cup that I needed for the almond flour with a gluten-free baking flour. So that's just what I'm going to do to substitute. And that's just a quick little hack in case you ever get in a bind like I do. And then 3/4 cup of coconut flour. And in the notes, if anybody sees that, you know, we were talking about flour not having the correct measurements, there's also options to sub for protein powder. So that is an option as well if you want to increase your protein. We do have 6 eggs in here, so it's got a substantial amount of protein, but you can never go wrong with enough protein. And sometimes I like to use the protein powder and add water to it to make as like a syrup over the pancake. So you could do that as well. All right, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Two. And then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm pretty generous with cinnamon because I love it. Cinnamon's also a great blood sugar stabilizer, so it's really good with coffee or anything with fruit. I love cinnamon. Okay, so that's a generous 2 teaspoons. I'm going to use this later for, I believe, the chicken bowls. So I'm going to put this to the side. And then I've got a 1/4 cup of applesauce. And I do unsweetened applesauce, and this is from Aldi if somebody has an Aldi grocery store. But anyway, it's just unsweetened, non-GMO organic applesauce. This is the natural sweetener of the pancake. So that's why I love using fruit. So you could also do mashed bananas if you wanted to. You could do honey or pure syrup if you wanted, but I try to limit my sugar. And also when I add toppings, I've got, you know, in-season berries. So that's going to add the sweetness as well. All right, then I've got 6 eggs. Just going to add these in here. And these are just farm fresh eggs, actually from a member of this, Audrey. She gave me some farm fresh eggs. So little shout out to her. These are from her chickens. And usually when it comes to baking, I like to separate the liquid and the dry. But with this, it's pancake mixture. It's very versatile. Like you can do it. You can just add everything in there and whisk together. So that's just what I'm going to do. Just add everything in one bowl. Okay, so I got 6 eggs. And then I'll need a cup of almond milk and vanilla extract. I want to go ahead and get started on whisking in these eggs. just because I had to substitute a different flour, I'm going to save the milk part for last, mainly so I can see the consistency and what this batter is going to look like. And that's another good tip if you are having to sub something in, you're not sure what the consistency is going to look like because it's not as directed. Usually adding the extra liquid is good to do at the very end. Okay. I want to add some vanilla extract. We got a tablespoon of that. I'm just going to eyeball it because I know what a tablespoon looks like. Okay, so my milk is almond milk. I love this brand, mainly because it's gum-free. It's unsweetened. There's only 3 simple ingredients, so that's why I love it. Okay, I'm gonna pop this open real quick. And we need a cup of that. So I'm just going to start off with half a cup, mix, and then add a little bit more just to see the consistency like we talked about earlier. Okay, adding another cup. Or adding the other half cup. Bring this mixture in. And you can add any other types of things in this pancake mixture if you want, but that's just a very basic go-to that's going to be sturdy enough for this sheet pan. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more milk, or technically malt. There we go. This is going to be pretty dense, mainly because we've got almond flour, so that's a very dense flour, and coconut flour. And that's what you'll see when you're using gluten-free flours. The mixture is going to look a lot different than the traditional flour pancake recipe. So my consistency is going to kind of look close to cornbread, but that is okay. And I can add let me add additional liquid to it because it completely absorbed all that liquid. Okay, add a little bit more. Okay, so this is a pretty thick but pourable batter. It's about that consistency. And I'm just going to pour it in my sheet pan. And I already put parchment paper so that it's easier to clean up. Okay, so I'm just going to pour this in here like that. So it's a good thick consistency. Good, my oven's ready for me. This is just in time. Put this in the sink. All right, now I'm going to spread. So if your consistency is thick like mine, that's good. So I'm just going to spread this. And if it's more of a pancake batter like consistency, that's okay too. It's all going to work. But just the consistency is going to look a little different just because I subbed out some of the ingredients. So this is going to look a little bit more rustic, and that's okay. Taste is still going to be good. And when you add all those fun toppings, that's going to elevate it. Okay, now here's a fun part. So I'm just going to do berries for this. I'm not going to do chocolate chips. So I've got some sliced strawberries. I'm going to add that in here. And then I've got some berries. Another client gave me some berries from her garden. So I'm just going to put those in here. And it's very 4th of July with the red and blue. So I'm going to do that. Just spread them in there. You could also put a little bit of honey drizzle over these if you wanted to, or sprinkle some sugar. That's just elevated if you want to. It's not necessary. Okay. So this is the pancake thing. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the oven with the bacon. Okay. I put the bacon at the bottom because that one's going to take a lot longer to cook. And so I'm going to go ahead and put my timer on because the pancakes will be 12 to 15 minutes. I want to look at 12-minute mark. And then bacon, I believe, is about 20 minutes. So I can see how the bacon looks. And that's really good with you because a lot of times people have their consistency in bacon if they like it crispier or a lot, sometimes people like it burnt. That's all up to you. So you'll just eyeball it. But I'm just going to go ahead and set a timer for 12 minutes. Okay, and I want to clean up a little, and then we're going to start working on the next thing. Okay, so I'm done with this. Put this to the side. Okay, so the next thing, because this is going to take about 20-ish minutes, we're going to start working on the third, which is the barbecue chicken bowls with sweet potatoes, coleslaw, and pickles. So I've got my things ready for the sweet potatoes. I'm just going to put some of this away to the side. And this is, I didn't prep this, so I'm going to chop the potatoes. But we've got, let's see what time it is, 2:20. We got plenty of time. We already had 20 minutes and just did breakfast, basically. And you don't have to do it at the same time I am. If you wanted to do all that when, Monday morning or weekday morning, you can totally do that and skip the first 20 minutes of this, however you want to do it. But I usually like to do everything at once and then just reheat it or reheat it in the skillet throughout the rest of the week. So that's why I did that. Put these strawberries or berries away. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start cubing my sweet potatoes. And this is always, I don't know if a lot of people do this. I learned this from Queer Eye. Anthony, he's my favorite. He's the chef on Queer Eye. He always puts his his kitchen towel over his shoulder, so it's easy to just wipe your hands on it. So that's why this is right here. Such a good tip. All right, I've got 3 sweet potatoes, and I've already washed them and scrubbed them really good. And now I'm just going to cube it. So I cut both ends, cut straight down the middle, and then I'm just going to cut twice, and then flip it around and cut into cubes, just like that. And I'm just going to continue this process with the rest of my sweet potatoes. Okay, there's one. And I believe I've got a bowl. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the bowl because we're going to toss this with some seasoning. And I'm going to reuse the same bowl when we make the coleslaw, so we're not having to use all these bowls and, because the worst part of meal prep, I have to say, is cleanup. I don't like that at all. Luckily, I have a dishwasher. There was a time where I did not, and that was the worst time of my life. But cleanup after meal prep is the worst. But I tell you what, if you can do all this in a day and then you're just reheating things throughout the week, in the long run, it's much more beneficial. And then as you're doing everything at once, you'll find ways of cutting corners, making things work, reuse some bowls. Obviously, don't use things that, had raw meat in it, but we're just going to season these. Ooh, that scared me. The sweet potatoes and some oil and seasoning. And then we'll reuse it again for the coleslaw. Do my last one. Okay. Just in here. And it's really good to make sure that uniformity in your sweet potatoes is key. That way they have an even cook. Because there's some like that that's just so little. I usually discard that. That way you just have even cubed sweet potatoes. Okay, so to my sweet potatoes, I am just going to toss them in my seasonings. So I've got chili powder and a dash of cinnamon. I love cinnamon and sweet potatoes. And don't think that this is going to make it, like desserty. It just enhances the flavor of the sweetness of sweet potatoes. So that's why I add that. And then I like chili because who doesn't like a good spice, but you can use whatever you want. And I have measurements on there, but I love to just eye it because I like seasonings more than, the general population, I guess. All right. And then I'm just going to add some oil. And then toss that and put it right. So I'm just tossing it by hand because it filled up. And I'm just going to let it fall naturally. There we go. Now we got a nice even cooking. Perfect. So I'm going to lay everything flat because you want to make sure that you've got single layers so everything cooks evenly. You've got some space in between your sweet potatoes for even cooking. Okay. So sweet potatoes are ready. I'm not going to put them in the oven yet just because of the bacon and the pancakes. So, but at least it's ready and prepped for when I am ready to put it in there. All right. The next thing is the barbecue chicken. So like Karen, she had the slow cooker, and you can do that nice and slow for 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours on low, however you want to do it. I've got an Instapot, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and get my pot. Okay, got my Instapot, and I'm going to get my chicken. Okay, so I went ahead and seasoned my chicken and washed it and cleaned it and everything. So it's got Italian seasonings, and then I'm going to do some barbecue sauce. So if you don't have Italian season or you're trying to find a good go-to seasoning, we have some time, so I'll go ahead and add some tips and tricks. I talked about this in the last meal prep, but I love Siete Foods as a seasoning. Now, I love spice. I talked about that earlier with the sweet potatoes, so that's why I love using the mild taco seasoning. To me, it just tastes like a good like a go-to general seasoning. And so that's what I put on here. It complements it really well with the barbecue sauce. But obviously in the directions, you can use Italian seasoning and it still tastes amazing. But I just love this brand, Siete Foods, for mostly for anything. It's not, to me, it's more than just Mexican cuisine. I feel like it could just be a good go-to for anything. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put these in. Let's use these tongs and go ahead and transfer this into the Instapot. The chicken, and then 3/4 cup of barbecue sauce. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the sink. Okay, barbecue sauce, you can use anything. I found this new brand at the grocery store. It's a Carolina barbecue sauce. And I just love it because it's always good to check your labels, especially with dressings and sauces. And this one has no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial flavors. It's not made with gluten-free ingredients, so that's why I use it. This is just a plug if you have celiac or you're trying to watch your gluten. There is an app on your phone, and it's the one I use. It's called Gluten-Free Scanner. And I'm just going to say this because we're doing really good on time. I'm kind of waiting for the things to come out, but you can scan an item. So I just scanned this Carolina sauce, and it tells me it's gluten-free. So I love this app. I can put it in the chat of the membership in case anybody's interested. But it helps me to know that things are gluten-free because not everything is gluten-free. So I love that app. All right. So I'm just going to add 3/4 cup of barbecue sauce to my Instant Pot. This may take all of this, to be honest. Yeah, it took exactly the amount I needed. All right, I'm just going to put that in here. Okay, I'm going to get a spatula because I love getting every bit of sauce. Okay. All right, so that is coated, and it's coated in the chicken, and it's enough liquid to where it shouldn't burn, but I may add a little bit of water because in Instant Pot it does steam, and sometimes it will give you that burn alarm. So I'm just going to add some filtered water, just enough to put at the bottom so it doesn't burn the spot where the sauce isn't. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this into the Instant Pot. And you're going to seal and cook on high pressure for 10 minutes, or you can do the low pressure for 50, whichever one you want to do, because it's only 2 pounds, so it will cook up pretty fast and will be moist and succulent. Okay, so I just went ahead and put it on normal for 25 on high. As you can hear it, I don't know if you can hear that. All right, I'm going to put this to the side. Okay, let me look at time. Okay, this is about to go off my timer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And then check on the pancakes. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks so good. With that baking powder, it also elevated it so it looks nice and thick. That looks so good. Oh, yeah. So I'll go ahead and show y'all this. So with that baking powder, it definitely rose, and I like adding that gluten-free flour blend. I feel like it would emulate the protein powder if you use that, but it made it thick. It's brown on the edges. The center looks clean. You can use like a toothpick to see the insertion to see if it's fully cooked, but it looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. And then I'm going to bring the bacon up and evaluate and see if it's a level of crispiness, because everybody has a preference on their bacon. Yeah. Okay. Bacon to me would be about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for that. And I went ahead and put my sweet potatoes on the bottom rack just so that they can start to cook while the bacon is finishing. So I'm just going to set my timer. Okay. So I've got 8 minutes. Now we are so ahead of time. And usually if you can prep your stuff ahead, like just like for me, before the 2 o'clock, it took me about, I want to say about 20 minutes just to kind of prep things, and not just prep, but just like put the ingredients on the counter, knowing like the Instapot, you know, sometimes people will put their Instapot at the very bottom in like back corner of your kitchen where it's not as accessible. So just doing those little things help immensely, because we're going to create all these meals and it's like 2:30 and pancakes are done, bacon's almost done, got the sweet potatoes in, chicken's in the Instapot, and now we're just flying through. Okay. All right. So we're still on the barbecue chicken bowls. So let's start the coleslaw. Let me grab my coleslaw mix. Now I still have my bowl because there's a little bit of olive oil and some seasoning, and that's fine because that also enhances the flavors. Those flavors also pair well with the coleslaw that we're making. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the mix. Okay. Put this back on. All right. So I have a fun little tip, and I like putting the dressing, like the liquid, at the bottom and then mixing the coleslaw into it. Now, I will say, if you are not planning on eating those barbecue bowls until much later, then I would wait, just because, you know, the coleslaw with the liquid can get droopy really bad. It's like when you're having salad and prep salad, if it's too wet, then it's going to get soggy and mushy. So this would be really good if you're making these bowls with your family for dinner, you know, or you're just doing lunches for the next, you know, 3 or 4 days. That's good too. All right. So for your coleslaw, we're doing 3 tablespoons of coconut aminos. You could also use liquid aminos. I do coconut because I stay away from soy, just because soy doesn't do well with me. And Trader Joe's has a very good organic coconut aminos. Other major grocery stores has this as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 3 tablespoons of this. And there we go. Put it in my bowl. Add that in here. Okay. Then my apple cider vinegar, we're going to do 1.5 tablespoons of that. I've just got the little, this whole day I've noticed I've got the very last bit for everything. And that's kind of a game I like to play. It's just like, how far can I go? And if I can even create recipes based on the small amount of ingredients that I have, just so that I can get it out of the fridge or freezer and use every bit of it and not waste it. Still have a little bit left though. I'll figure out a way to use this by this week, I'm sure. And then 1/2 cup of mayo. So let me grab that from the fridge. And this is good to talk about mayonnaise while I'm ahead of the game. So I love Chosen Foods because it's avocado oil based. I talk about marinades and dressings and sauces a lot, mainly because rancid oils are very sneaky in common dressings, marinades, sauces, things like that. And so I love Chosen brands because they're avocado oil based. I use their avocado oil spray, and then, you know, just a regular avocado oil. So that's just a little plug in products that is very good to substitute your traditional ones for something cleaner. So Chosen, Primal Kitchen, those are really good brands that I use. So we're going to do 1/2 cup. This is about 1/2 cup, so I'm going to go ahead and put the entire contents into the bowl. If you have leftover mayonnaise, like you have like 2 tablespoons or something of mayonnaise, what I like to do is add a tuna packet in there with some seasoning like dill and some salt, and then eat from the jar so that you're using all of your mayonnaise. So that's a fun little tip. Because again, I love, like, groceries are not cheap anymore. So you got to use every bit if you can. So that is exactly what I am doing. And if you go to Costco, if you're a Costco girl or guy, Chosen is there as well. I get their huge, they've got giant avocado oil sprays and giant ones of these guys. So love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. And apple cider vinegar and the coconut aminos, like coconut aminos is more on the sweet side. So I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to this. And I use pink Himalayan sea salt, just a readily available. Just going to spoon some of that in here. It smells really good in here, by the way. I hope it smells good at your house, Karen, because it smells good here. Okay, I'm just going to mix this mayonnaise in with the sauce. I'm actually going to whisk this. I have a small whisk that I can use.
It does smell good.
Good. Okay, throw that in here. Yeah, that's my favorite part of cooking, because it's like every time I would cook, I live by myself, but when I would have friends over, they're like always like, why does your house always smell like food? You know, but luckily it's all good things. Okay, so coleslaw, and you can add anything else you wanted in this mix. Sometimes what I'll do is if I had, because pickled onions would pair really well with this barbecue bowl recipe. Sometimes I will put the brine, like the juice of the pickled onions, into this. And it's actually in my cookbook that will show that example. If you ever have the cookbook and see that, because I'm all about being versatile and trying to utilize everything that you have. So I'm going to throw this away. That pancake looks so good. I may have pancakes and bacon for dinner tonight. Like, what is it called? Breakfast for dinner? Brunner? Because it just smells so good. All right. Oh, there's my timer. So I'm going to go ahead and check the bacon real quick. I'm going to add the contents of this coleslaw. And this is an organic vegetable slaw that's washed and ready to use. So that's what I used. I'm going to get the bacon, see where we're at on that. Oh, yeah. That turned out perfectly. That's how I like my bacon. Just crispy, perfect. And it's cooked, but it's not brown or too dark, so that I can reheat it in the skillet if I wanted to. So I'm just going to set this here and then raise up my sweet potatoes to the top so that it can cook faster. Okay. Just because we're doing a lot of things, timers are key, because you don't want to forget stuff, especially the bacon, because they can, you'll smell the burn crispy bacon fast. So I'm just going to put in a 20-minute timer for the sweet potatoes. And that will be at 3 o'clock. So then we have a full hour to finish the rest of the stuff. All right, let me mix this real quick. And this just fit it. So I'm going to kind of hold my hand to the side so nothing comes out. And do a pulling up method so that the other contents can slide in from the side. But I'm just pulling up the liquid onto the coleslaw, the dry coleslaw, so that it can be fully coated. Just kind of rotate. Oh, this smells good. And I usually like, so if you saw the liquid, I would, taste it and see how it, see if you needed to add more salt or more acidity. So always taste as you go. And that builds autonomy, that builds independence in the kitchen, because you know what you like and you know your palate, or you know who you're cooking for and what they like. So definitely always taste as you go. Okay, so that's fully coated, and that was the perfect amount. It's nicely covered. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the fridge so that those flavors can marinate and can marry each other. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. So coleslaw is done. And because I have some time, I want to show you the pickles that I use when you're building the bowl. So your chicken's still cooking, and then you got your coleslaw. Sweet potatoes are in the oven, and then you've got pickles. You can also do pickled onions with this recipe if you wanted to. And let's see. Yeah, and you can do it, obviously other things, but that's basically the components for this. I'm going to show you the pickles real quick. Okay. So I love this brand, Cleveland Kitchen. They're for gut health. They are awesome. They've got great kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles, anything fermented. This brand is great. And so I just use the dilly garlic. So I buy a big tub for that. So I'll just put the pickles on the bowls when I'm ready to eat. I also hike a lot. Here's my hiking with my girls that I go with. Pickles are great because the minerals, the salt, the sodium, and when we get leg cramps, pickles are great for that. So you can get these at Aldi, Costco. I just love the packs. So Snap is another good brand. And I'll just take one of these packs and throw it onto the bowl as well. And that's really good if you're working and you're having this recipe for lunch at work, because then you can just bring that pack and then just add it on to the chicken after you heat it, and then have your coleslaw on the side. So let me show a container. There's so many ways when you're meal prepping this type of chicken bowl. So I would put, a big container where you have the chicken, sweet potatoes, and space in this glass container. You would have your pickles either in a bag or you put in a Ziploc bag. And then I have another smaller container where I'll put the coleslaw so that your cold is separate from the heated. So once you heat that, you can pour this coleslaw over, add additional barbecue sauce if you wanted to, and then top it with your pickles. So this is just a really good lunch meal prep, and that's what I would do with containers. Okay, I'm going to put this up real quick. Luckily, I work from home, so I can just put things in bulk containers that they're all separated and do it that way. And that's really great for people who work from home. Okay, so this is good. I'm gonna go ahead and put this over to the other side since I'll need this for the lemon orzo. So I'm just gonna put these little mats over to the side. Okay, so barbecue bowls are basically done, but I'm just gonna, well, obviously you're waiting on the sweet potatoes, but I'm gonna go ahead and start our fourth recipe, which is the skillet lemon butter Dijon chicken and orzo with feta sauce. So I'm gonna head and get this cleared out and ready for the next recipe. Okay, grab some water because I'm thirsty. All right, so this recipe is where the oven will be preheated down to 400. And so after the sweet potatoes are done, then that's when I'm going to lower the temperature. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on marinating the protein. So this is something that could be done the night before if you wanted to. It would be really good grilled, but we're going to put this in a skillet just for ease and convenience. It's also a great recipe for a weekday because it's all in a skillet. And I I forgot chicken thighs. I had the chicken breast for the barbecue bowls, but I totally forgot the thighs. And so I was trying to find some type of protein that would work well with this dish in the freezer, and I found turkey legs or turkey wings. Super random, but I'm going to use it. And that's just a good example of if you don't have all the ingredients to a T, there's ways of substituting and making things work, especially if you don't have time to go back to the grocery store, or you just have decision fatigue, or you're wanting to use something that was already in the fridge and you don't want it to waste. Okay. All right. So let me get my turkey wings. So random. I don't know why I have them, but it's fine. So I already washed them really good and just seasoned with some salt. And then I'm going to get started on creating like a marinade for that. So I've got a bowl here. Okay, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So I'm just going to pour this into the bowl. 1, 2. Dijon. I love Dijon mustard. I just got regular Simple Truth Dijon organic mustard. And we're doing 2 tablespoons of that. And if you can eyeball your measurements, it's not like we're baking where you have to be exact. That just helps so you don't have to have you're using so many measuring spoons. Now, if you're a beginner, then go for it. But I've done this for a while. I just kind of eyeball it. And I also err on the side of more when it comes to seasoning. So that's what I do. 3 cloves of garlic. Little time-saving hack. I cook a lot. And so I buy these fresh peeled garlic. So if you don't want to slave away and crush garlic from a bowl and having to mince and all that, I just love these. And I use a little bit more than recommended. So in this recipe, it's you're using 3 cloves. So I just use like 4 or 5. And I use a mincer because that saves on time as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mince about 5 cloves into this mixture, just because I love garlic. And if you love garlic, go for it. And I need to use up all this garlic because it's gonna I think it's like in 2nd week of July is when they go bad. Do that. And you can use garlic powder if you want to. I just love fresh garlic. Fresh is best in my opinion. But I will say I was at the grocery store and couldn't find fresh rosemary, which is usually what I opt for. So I have rosemary leaves. So that's okay. You just do what you can do. And this recipe, actually, I don't know if you guys know of Half Baked Harvest, but this is an inspired recipe from her cookbook. So let me knife this off real quick. Okay, so that was a lot faster than mincing So totally worth it, in my opinion. Okay, set that to the side. And then 2 tablespoons of rosemary leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in here. Smoked paprika. I love anything smoked. So smoked paprika it is. And you're needing a teaspoon of that. I do a generous teaspoon because I love this stuff. And then salt and pepper. I don't really use pepper much, so obviously you can do that. Just if you see me not using pepper, just disregard me. All right, so I'm just going to ahead and I'm just going to mix this real quick. And I'm just going to use the same little whisk that I use a coleslaw. Why not? It's not like we're, mixing raw meat or something. So mix that real quick. I want to add a little bit of water to loosen it because it's a thick mixture. And just a little bit because I want to coat my meat in this. Again, this is a good option to marinate the night before. But, it's obviously not necessary because that's not what we're doing right now. And now I'm just adding my protein in. So if you had your chicken thighs, you would toss it and just have them well combined. Oh, this smells good too. I just love spice and seasonings and, things that we're doing. Like this is Mediterranean style. The other one was barbecue style. Breakfast is classic Southern, classic American, I guess. I don't know. So we've got variety. We got different flavors. So that's fun. Okay, continue to toss. I'm going to get into the skin. Just really mash it all in there. Get it well combined. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the burner to medium-high heat. I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Okay. Put this right here. And put my skillet on burner. Okay, so we're heating a tablespoon of olive oil into a large oven-safe skillet. And then I'm going to let that heat up a little bit before you don't directly add your chicken on there. You want to make sure this is nice and hot so that it doesn't stick to the pan. A lot of people have issues with that, with this, if it's non-Teflon. Just want to make sure that it's nice and hot. Let that sit for a little bit. And for this, we're just going to sear your chicken thighs, in my case, the turkey wings on both sides for about 3 to 5 minutes. Let me put this up. I start cleaning up while that heats. Let's see. Put the Dijon up. I'm very OCD, but I also want to make sure that things are cleaned up as I go, because then it's like less work when you're done. Because usually when you're done with meal prep, you don't want to do anything else. You just want to like kick back, and just relax because your feet are tired from walking around, for 2 hours. So try to multitask even more when I can. All right, so nice and hot. I'm going to go ahead and add the turkey wings, so your meat and serum. Oh yeah, that's what you want to hear. You want to get every juicy goodness in here. It smells so good. And also remember to, I don't know if I said this earlier, but remember to season your chicken thighs before you add the marinade. And if you don't, that's fine. You can add more salt to it. But I'm all about seasoning things as you go. That develops flavor, enhances the flavors that you're incorporating into it. So I'll let that go. We got 3 minutes left on the sweet potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and toss the sweet potatoes. Well, they're actually perfect. So I'm going to bring down the temperature of the oven to 400. Oh, that smells really good. The garlic is coming through. I can smell the rosemary. That smells so good. I'm going to get the rest of this stuff ready for the skillet. Let's clean up real quick. This to the side. Okay, well that's searing. A really good thing I love is this grain-free cassava orzo pasta. You can find this at like a Whole Foods, a Fresh Market, more of a higher end market. And because I live in a small town and not as accessible to a close city where I have access to a Fresh Market or Whole Foods, I order this online on Amazon, and it's the grain-free cassava. I love it because it's a great gluten-free option for orzo. But if anybody's interested in the product, that's the brand Jovial that I like. Okay, I'm gonna see what this looks like. Oh, that looks good. Panels. Let that sear some more. hopefully this will be good for everybody to have time to catch up on things. Because I think after this, let's see, this won't take long at all. Because orzo, it's a type of pasta that doesn't take long to cook, which is really nice. So I'm going to start cleaning up a little. But this smells amazing. So during the last 2 minutes of it searing, I'm going to add some lemon and butter to it. So we're just going to wait on that for a little bit. I'm going to move the sweet potatoes out of the way. Okay, let's see how this looks like. All right, so we're going to add some butter to this. So about 3 tablespoons of butter and some acidity. So lemon. I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons. Let me grab this knife. Okay. And for butter, I love grass-fed Kerrygold butter. I also use Vital Farms. Really good brand. I get their sea salted or unsalted so I can control the salt content. Yeah, so this one's sea salted, Vital Farms. It's pasture raised. I love it. All right. So I had some leftover. So I was zesting a lemon. I needed for a recipe, but I saved the lemon. So I'm just going to go ahead and reuse this and put this into the pan. So I've got a lemon squeezer. And just squeeze 1 lemon in here. Okay. That is good. All right. So chicken's in there searing. All right. I'm going to start. Yeah, I'm going to grab a plate and remove the protein out of the skillet. Okay. So I'm just going to. Oh, that's my Instapot. I was like, what's that song? Bring down this heat real quick. Oh, this smells so good. I love just scraping that juicy bits at the bottom of the pan, because that's your flavor bombs, I call it. But look at that. And that's going to be really good when we add the orzo into it and crisp the orzo pasta into this mixture. So we're going to add the orzo and a clove of minced garlic. So I've got it on a lower temperature because now my Instant Pot is off. I'm going to go ahead and turn that steam valve on. Okay. So sorry that it's loud, but it smells so good. It's like barbecue chicken in my face. But we're going to toast the orzo pasta in with this liquid mixture. Very similar to how you cook Mexican rice, how you toast the rice. Very similar to that. I'm going to toast it really well. I'm going to bring back the heat to medium high. Still rendering those juicy bits from the skillet. Oh, it smells so good. I hear the orzo crisping up. That's what we like to hear. So we're going to do this for about 2 minutes. And while I have this going, I need to add my minced garlic. So I'm going to let that toast real quick, but just be fast and efficient. I'm going to add some garlic in to the mixture. Okay. Okay, and then keep going. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, let that keep going. And then that's where we're going to add the broth, kale. So I already washed my kale. I've got 2 cups of that. I want this to brown up a little more, so that's why this is going to continue to cook a little. And you just want to stir it because they brown up really fast. So you just want to keep a good eye on it and stir when you can. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit for a little, and then I'm going to add my broth. And I love bone broth because it's higher in protein. So I've got some bone broth, and we're going to do 3 cups of this. So let me grab my cup. Oh yeah, my favorite sound. Oh, that's perfect. That never happens. That's exactly 3 cups. Throw this away. Let that stir. This is where you're gonna you're adding the broth kale, so I need to add the kale and lemon juice. You're gonna season it with a little salt and pepper, and then bring it to a boil. So I'm gonna bring it medium high to high heat, just so it can get back. It can go into a boil. Okay. So add additional salts. About to get to a boil, so that's good. I've got about 2 cups of kale that I washed and de-stemmed. So I took the hard piece out, and that they're small bite size. Add that in here. That's going to cook the kale down. But then we're going to add your protein back into this. Okay. And then 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. A great hack. Let me grab it real quick. Because I love lemon juice in the jar and not the concentrate, not the ones where it's like a lemon juice. I remember that as a kid because it just tastes like concentrate. It's not real at all. This is pure lemon, not from concentrate. The brand is Lakewood. It's organic and it's fresh pressed. So I love it because lemons are like $1 a piece. This was maybe $7 and there's 189 servings, which is a teaspoon serving size. So more bang for your buck and it's organic, fresh pressed, and it lasts a good bit in the fridge. When does it last? Yeah, Best Buy 2025. So I'm adding, let's see, I'm just adding about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. 1, 2. And I love lemon, especially in the summertime. And acidity is really good to bring out the flavors in your dish. Okay. So I'm going to mix this in again. The kale has wilted down. The water, the mixture is boiling, and then I'm going to slide my turkey things in here. So for you guys, y'all will add your turkey, your chicken thighs. So create some little spots, and that's where I'm just going to transfer these into here. Oh, it smells so good. Okay. I'm going to clean my hands real quick. All right. So now that the chicken's in there, you can add lemon slices and any juice left over from the skillet. So all of that's in there. And then we're going to bake this uncovered for 15 minutes or until your chicken or your turkey is cooked through. So let me get some lemon and we'll do some lemon slices to make it pretty. About 4 or 5, however you want to do it. So I've just got some lemon. I'm just going to dress it up real quick, make it look pretty. Add another one on here. Okay. Now I want to turn off the heat and then put this in the oven for 15 minutes. I'm going to try to mix up the bottom real quick. Just so that the bottom doesn't, I can find moisture underneath. And because this is the chicken amount is different than the chicken thighs, I'm just going to add, just for a precaution, some extra liquid, just so that the bottom of the pan doesn't burn. And that's just a good little measure. If you see that your orzo pasta, like you don't have much liquid left over because it absorbed the orzo, which it will do, just a good little measure, add a little bit of liquid. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. Perfect. All right, so that's going in the oven. And obviously make sure that your skillet is oven safe. I should have put that on there, but I hope that you guys will know that. So let me set my alarm for 15 minutes. And while that is cooking, then we've got the sauce. So while that's cooking, we've got the feta sauce. So I'm going to get my feta, the yogurt, garlic, lemon, and smoked paprika. Okay, get a bowl. Okay. So this feta is about 4 ounces. That's exactly what I'm going to use. Now, I do not, mine's going to look a little different because I did not find a dairy-free plain Greek yogurt option because I have issues with regular Greek. I can't do that. I can tolerate feta, but I can't really do Greek plain yogurt if it's not dairy. So I'm just going to add some water to it just to turn it into more of a sauce. It's not going to be as creamy, obviously, but once we add the lemon in there, it will have somewhat of a consistency, and that is too where I could put it in a processor or a NutriBullet just to give it a finer consistency. But whatever I'm doing now, I'm just going to improvise because it is for me, and I know how it's going to taste. And everybody's different. So I know this is good for me, but to have the full effect, that plain Greek yogurt is so good. Some lemon juice, and then you've got smoked paprika and clove of garlic that you're going to mince in. Okay. That was a big lemon. I've got a little bit left in here, so I'm going to use that bit. Oops. I've got a seed. Okay. All right, so grabbing my bag of garlic. I'm using so much garlic. There's a lot of garlic in this recipe, not gonna lie. So you have been warned. Okay, now I want to add some smoked paprika. A good bit because I love it. And I'll add a little bit of water to this. You could also add, well, I'm actually add, no, I have coconut milk and it will taste coconutty. So that's just giving you a warning. So I'm just going to use water instead. Just a little. And then I'm going to mix it up. And this is very rustic, so I'm just going to use a fork. But you're just blending this until creamy. So this is very good to have in a processor, but this is very rustic for me, and that's okay. I don't mind it being chunky, but if you do, then I would just put everything in a NutriBullet or a blender or an immersion blender if you have one of those, or a food processor. And I'm just using a fork just to mash into the feta, just to break it up more. And that water and the lemon is helping to break it down. So it's going to be saucy, but also chunky. And that is okay with me. Okay, so you have your sauce and now all that's ready. You can go ahead and put that in the fridge like you did with the coleslaw, just so that the flavors can marinate and marry with each other. This is also, you could also put all this in a meal prep container so that it's already in its container and you just, you know, serving size out of it. I put mine in a bowl because for dinner, I think tonight I am going to have this for dinner. So after I'm done, then I'll transfer this to a meal prep container tonight so that it's airtight and sealed in the fridge. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. And then you guys, you know, however consistency you want your sauce to be. Mine is just more rustic, and that is okay. Okay. All right, mine looks like that. Y'all's won't look like that. It's okay. Everything's fine. All right. Okay. So let's do a little recap. It's 3:23. So we've got 40 minutes, and let's see what else we've got to do. So we've got 10 minutes, or I have 10 minutes left for the lemon butter orzo. And when you do serve the chicken, you're going to serve the chicken orzo topped with feta sauce and dill. And that's optional because dill is really good with this, with lemon. So it's optional. Or parsley is really good too. This is a 1 skillet, so it's great for a midweek dinner. Or you can prep everything. Like, I love the chicken thighs because you can have 2 chicken thighs per serving for a lunch meal prep and just put it all in containers. And then put your feta sauce in those smaller containers that's separate from your glass container, and do that for lunch. Or just have this ready for dinner tonight. So however you want to do that. Barbecue chicken's good. My Instant Pot turned off, so I'll just going back to that recipe. You're just going to use a fork or use a hand mixer to fork the chicken and make it shredded. Or you can dice it and chop it up however texture you want your barbecue chicken. And then once you're ready, you'll divide the bowls with the coleslaw, pickles, barbecue chicken, and sweet potatoes, or refer back to what I talked about earlier with the lunch meal prep and how you separate the cold from the things that will need to be reheated. All right, so the last one we have is the coconut lemon balls. And before I start that, Karen, do you have any questions before I move on to the last one?
No, I'm good. Thank you. We're a little behind, but we're good.
Well, good. Yeah, and if you're behind, that's totally fine. Yeah, most of my stuff's already prepped beforehand just in case I had questions or whatever. So you are good.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to clean up a little and get my processor to this area. Okay, make room. Okay. I make these lemon coconut balls for the gym I work at, and it's a favorite. Clients love this. And everybody asks for the recipe, but I only have it for this membership program and a slight variation on my website. So this is, everybody loves this lemon coconut recipe. Okay. All right, got my processor. So for the last recipe is the coconut lemon balls. We're going to place all ingredients into the blender, and that's it. So we've got 1/2 cup of raw and unsalted cashews. And I actually got these, they're dry roasted just because they're fun flavor. But they're dry roasted, they don't have oils. And that's the things you need to look for when you buy nuts and seeds. Just make sure that they're raw and not cooked in like cottonseed oil, sunflower, safflower, those type of rancid oils, because they're just not good for us. And we want that natural rawness flavor because we're going to develop flavors naturally with lemon and things like that. So 1/2 cup of desiccated unsweetened coconut flakes. And this is just a brand I got from Publix. Love these. So we're going to add 1/2 cup to this. And I'm just going to eyeball it because I've made this recipe so many times. Okay. Then lemon juice. You can use a lemon juice or have a fresh lemon. I've got a lemon, but I have so much juice left over, so I'm going to use that. And people have a lot of preferences on how lemony they want their lemon coconut balls to be, so you can add more or less depending on how much you love the flavor of lemon. And then about 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup or honey. And I'm out of pure maple syrup, so I'm just going to add honey to this. About 2 tablespoons, and the lemon zest. Lemon zest is really good too when you're rolling the these coconut balls in the coconut and lemon zest, because when you're biting it, you just get that you smell it, and it's just that kick in your face before you even bite it, which is amazing, because then like my mouth is already salivating thinking about it. So I'm just going to get my mandolin slicer. I love this thing. And I'm just going to zest like about half of this lemon in here, because I want to use the rest to when we roll the balls. And this is completely optional, but I tell you what, adding fresh lemon zest, it's a game changer. That flavor of freshness just really makes this, like, the balls pop. All right. So this is going to be loud, so go ahead and pulse real quick. Okay. I want to make note, when sometimes people will process this recipe, they stop when it gets a little chunky. It will start to look pasty, and the mixture will start to roll around. So right now it's in its chunky stage. I'm going to grab a spatula and take the edges back into the mixture. So let me do that real quick. So that all of it's going back in. Okay. All right, I'm going to close it in, so it's going to be loud. Okay. So I'm going to start to scoop this down again, and this is where you can, that's why a processor or blender is so important when you're crushing down cashews and coconut. Because if you're just, if you're just chopping things together, it's not going to have that same consistency. So we want something that's pliable. So like this, because of that honey, you can also use medjool dates as a sweetener. You want to make sure it's pliable and sticky so that it can form into a ball. And this is also good to point where you can taste it. So on my end, it's very, I think that I might need to add a little bit more sweetener to it, because it kind of tastes like it gets good, but it's not there yet. It tastes more lemon and not balanced. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that into it. Okay. And then I'm just going to pulse again. There's the ball. See that? Perfect timing. Okay. So I don't know if you've seen it, but how I was talking about the ball and the ball is just rotating around. That is the consistency that we want. And it's completely pliable. So it's fully formed. I can use a cookie scooper to scoop out tablespoons worth and build. But now I'm going to take the orzo out of the oven. Remember your mitt, your gloves, your oven mitts, because that is going to be a hot skillet. Ooh, that looks so good. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It is perfect. Obviously, check your internal temperature to make sure that this is fully cooked. I'm going to do that right now. So I believe chicken is 165. So do your internal temperature. Yeah, poultry is 165 and mine is turkey. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so while that's going, I'm not going to turn the oven off on the off chance I might have to put it back in the oven. I want to make room to make the balls. And just to make sure that they're uniform, I use a tablespoon scooper. So you can use a tablespoon or a cookie scooper. I'm going to take this out real quick. And I just used a regular cookie scooper just so that the balls are uniformed and evenly measured out. Okay. My turkey legs were a lot bigger and they weren't smaller chunks like chicken thighs are. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in the oven because internal temperature is not high enough for the turkey. But remember, yours is chicken thighs and you do 165 temperature to see if it's fully cooked. Okay. So I'm just going to put a personal timer on for me for my turkey. And then let's get started on the balls. Okay, so scoop out just like that. I roll perfect consistency so I don't have to manipulate it much at all. Like that. And I'm going to set this to the side. And just keep going. This should make about 10 or 12 balls, I want to say. When I make this for the gym, I triple batch this or quadruple or, 5, 10, however amount. So if you do have a big family, also these freeze really well. So if you want to make a good batch of these, and then freeze, leftover if you wanted to have some in the fridge, because they will last about, 5 days in the fridge, I want to say, to make them, just for freshness, because they do have fresh lemon juice in them. 5 days is the max, but that's why I highly recommend to put them in the freezer if you are making a batch of these. So these are forming perfectly thanks to the food processor. I'm telling you, if you don't have it, it's not going to be as uniformed. But these are turning out perfect. And you can, if lemon and coconut are not your thing, you can obviously do a different flavor profile. I just chose this because it's summer and I think of those flavors. You could also do lime, like a coconut lime would be really good. However you want to do it. Okay. So I'm just going to set the others to the side so I can show you how to roll them. Let me clean my hands real quick. All right. So these coconut balls are going to be rustic. The coconut that I have is like a medium fine shred. You can see some that are thicker than others, but if you want to make them finer, even to like a powder, like a flour consistency, then you can add it to a processor, blend it until they break down to the consistency that you want. And then there you go. But these are going to be rustic just for time. So I'm just going to add just a handful, small handful into a bowl. And then zest some lemon. And this is an optional step. I just love it. My clients love it. Don't add the full lemon. Just enough. You don't have to do all of it. But I just love seeing that little spurts of yellow come through. So I think yeah, there we go. And then you're just adding the ball, rolling it around. Just like that. And it should stick really well. And there you go. So I just love the crunchiness on the outside. It just gives it a level of texture, which is nice because the ball itself is very fine and uniformed in texture. So the outside, just having that crunchy texture on the outside is fun. So that is basically how you do this. And let me look at time real quick. Okay, so it's 3:40. We have 20 minutes left over. We did all the things. I'm going to continue to roll these balls, but Karen, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think if I had questions as I was going along. But yeah, I think we're just gonna we're leaving the lemon coconut balls for a little later.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm just gonna do this, but we did all of the things. And I won't assemble everything just because everybody's going to be different, but talking through every recipe and how they're assimilated, how you would use meal prep containers for certain things, like even for these coconut balls. I would just put everything, like I have these on a small plate after I've rolled them in the shredded coconut lemon zest mixture. And then I pop that in the fridge. I'll put it in an airtight container. And so I'll eat maybe one or two as a snack. They're also great for a pre-workout, post-workout snack. They freeze beautifully. You just put them in a Ziploc bag, and they don't take long to dethaw. I personally like these kind of like frozen because that texture is different. It's like when I used to be a kid, I used to love like frozen Snickers. So that, it's like that if you're...
You can eat them straight from the freezer?
Yes. I love it that way because I don't know why, but they don't like fully, like even when you bite through it, it's not hard, so they're just like a perfect thing to put. And that's why I love this recipe in batch because, as you can see, rolling it and all this can be a process. So if you can batch make this, it's perfect because it does take some time, especially if you're rolling them in that coconut mixture. That's just an extra step.
Okay.
So I'm all about bulking recipes if you can. But I already had and rolled 8 of them already. And then I want to put this in a container. And so I'll have 2 per day. And I'll have at least 3 more balls left in the mixture. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I will have this recording probably scheduled for tomorrow. So for people who weren't able to hop on, it will be there either tonight or tomorrow morning. And then if anybody has questions or anything, make a comment in the chat room. Also, if y'all have any ideas for August, I love hearing people's recommendations on what they want to see, or that they had like this guilty pleasure recipe that they want to healthify, or something for their kids. Just let me know in the comments or send me a message and Practice Better. And I would love to incorporate that into August meal prep. All right. Well, if everybody's good, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. We got done early. We got some time back. But I hope everyone has a great Sunday and happy meal prepping.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I hope you and your family have a wonderful day.
Oh, you too. Thanks so much. This was fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.